Before the king, before the legend, there was a single moment of silence in the warm, shallow waters of the ancient sea, a moment the ocean held like a secret it had been keeping for a very long time. The first breath, not a gasp, not a struggle, a claim, the ocean receiving its newest and most dangerous child at the surface of the ancient world. The mother watching from 20 feet away, 15 tons of absolute stillness, the most powerful creature in the ocean watching over something that fit in the palm of your hand. This is how kings are made. The first lesson came fast, something large circling, something hungry. Then the mother appeared and the lesson was complete. In this ocean, there is only one rule: who is the largest thing within range? The first hunt, clumsy, imprecise, failed. The ammonite escaped. The king did not care. It reset, it recalculated, it tried again. This is what apex predators are made of, not success, refusal to accept failure. The first kill, a fish barely 6 inches long, but the jaw closed perfectly. The double hinge worked exactly as 25 million years of evolution had designed it to work. The ocean had its answer. This creature would be fine. Time passed the way it always passes in the ancient ocean, without mercy, without pause. And the creature grew 10 feet now, already the largest thing within 50 feet of it in any direction, still learning, still becoming. The first real fight, not a small fish, not an ammonite, a Xiphactinus. 20 feet of predatory fish that had never been prey to anything until today. The prey escaped and the young king wore its first scar, not a defeat, a lesson carved directly into the skin. The ocean teaches in the only language that lasts: pain and memory. And then one morning the mother accelerated away. No warning, no ceremony, just distance growing between them. The young king, watching the cayenne trail of the mother's lateral line disappear into the ancient blue. The ocean now entirely its own. The only education left was survival, and that it had already learned. 57 feet, 15 tons. The Western Interior Seaway receiving its king at the surface in the first light of a new day. This was not a beginning, this was an arrival, the most powerful predator the ocean has ever produced, complete. Every creature within range already knew, not because it announced itself, not because it displayed, simply because it moved through their world and they got out of the way. That is what it means to be at the top of every food chain that has ever existed. You do not need to prove it, the ocean proves it for you. Look at this jaw, 6 feet above, 6 feet below, and on the roof of the mouth, a third row of teeth, all of them curving inward toward the throat. There is no direction inside this jaw that leads anywhere except down. Evolution spent 25 million years building this, and it shows. The king owns the night the same way it owns the day, completely. The lateral line reads the dark ocean the way eyes read a lit room. Nothing moves in this water without the king knowing. Nothing breathes without being counted. The night ocean belongs to the Cyan constellation. Moving through it always has. Before the dawn, the king already moving. The pre-dawn patrol that begins every single day of its adult life. The lateral line reading the signatures of the morning ocean, taking inventory, everything in its place, everything as it should be, the day beginning the way every day begins, with complete ownership of everything the lateral line can detect. The school feeding at the surface, 40 Zifactinus, each one 20 feet. They do not know what is coming from below. The lateral line already has every pressure signature, every position, every heartbeat. The approach beginning 100 feet below. Zero undulation, the hydrodynamic ghost rising. In the afternoon the king goes deep, the surface world fading above, the deep ocean opening below. This is where the largest prey lives, where the darkness is absolute, where no other predator of this size has ever hunted. The king descends into the world it built in the deepest water of the ancient ocean, comfortable here as much as anywhere. Air. The king needs air. The largest predator in the history of the ocean cannot breathe the water it rules, so it surfaces, takes its breath, returns on its own schedule, at its own pace. The ocean waits. It always waits for the king. Midnight, the king making its patrol, not hunting, not fleeing, not resting, just existing, the monarch of the most dangerous ocean in Earth history, confirming what it confirms every midnight, that the Western Interior Seaway belongs to it, completely, without condition, without challenge. The ocean remembers who rules it, every midnight, without exception. Every morning the same exhale, blue-tinted warm breath meeting the cold ocean air, the most powerful creature alive needing the simplest thing, a breath, and the ocean holding still while it takes one. Every morning, without exception, at the exact moment the sun crests the eastern horizon over the Western Interior Seaway, the king breaches, not for hunting, not for prey, simply to greet the day from above the ocean that owns it, the most beautiful daily ritual in the history of the sea. The largest hunt of its life, an archelon 18 feet across its shell, 3 tons of ancient armor, the kind of prey that requires more than speed, that requires intelligence, the king studying the turtle from 150 feet below, the lateral line mapping every detail of the armor, every gap, every hinge, the hunt of a lifetime beginning with a very long and very patient study. Not the explosive breach attack of the fish hunts. This was surgical. The jaw at the exact hinge point between shell and flipper, the pterygoid teeth gripping the shell edge, the primary teeth finding the gap, 10 tons of crushing force at the exact right anatomical point. The most intelligent hunt in the king's life, precision over raw power. The master predator at its most sophisticated, 3 tons consumed. The king's body visibly larger from the meal, the amber gold eyes fully closed for the first time in the video, the satisfaction of the largest successful hunt of its life. The lesson confirmed: even the most armored prey in the ocean is not safe. 400 feet down, complete darkness, no eyes needed, the lateral line detecting the heartbeat of the squid from 40 feet away. The attack beginning in pure darkness, no light, no sight, only the pressure of every movement arriving through the water as clear as daylight. The most extraordinary predatory capability ever evolved, striking a target it cannot see with perfect accuracy every time. The storm that paralyzes every creature in this ocean is simply the king's preferred hunting condition. While every prey animal loses its formation in the chaos, the king hunts. The storm is not an obstacle, the storm is the advantage. And then lightning, the king in mid-breach, the Sifactinus in its jaw, the storm water exploding below. 1 fraction of a second of pure white light, the most powerful prehistoric image the ocean has ever produced. The storm, the lightning, the king at the peak of its hunt, all in one impossible, perfect frame. "3 hours the king has not moved. The Sifactinus school feeds at the surface above it, completely unaware. 3 hours of stillness that no other predator in this ocean could sustain. This is what absolute confidence looks like. The king can wait because the king can afford to wait. The moment is coming." The prey got a head start 100 meters. Most predators would abandon the hunt. The king accelerated, 2 trails of bioluminescence cutting through the water, silver white ahead, electric cyan closing, the gap shrinking with every second. Physics working in the king's favor? The chase that ends only one way? Not prey, too large, too defended, but it had entered the king's core territory, and that cannot be tolerated. The greatest confrontation in the Western Interior Seaway was not between predator and prey, it was between 2 ancient kings of different body plans, meeting at the boundary of their overlapping domains. The plesiosaur went still in the grip. Then the king released it, not because it had to, because the territory had been established. A rival, same size, same power, the most personal challenge the king would ever face. 2 creatures of identical capability measuring each other across 40 feet of ancient water. The rival's grip began to slip, the king's force marginally greater, the decisive margin of the battle emerging. The rival retreated, not pursued, the territory decided, the boundary permanent. The king, turning away from the fight, it just won with the absolute dignity of a creature that has never been defeated. The ocean belongs to the king, it always has. The most extraordinary battle ever fought in this ocean. Two adult mosasaurs, 600 feet deep, complete darkness, both visible only as their own bioluminescence. The most beautiful thing the ancient ocean ever produced, hundreds of thousands of ammonites, each one glowing with its own amber gold bioluminescence, the king moving through them as a river of cool kind through a warm amber galaxy. Watch this, not a hunting breach, not aggression, the breach of a creature simply expressing power for the pure experience of it. 25 feet above the surface, the silver white ventral visible as the king rolls in the air. The jaw open, not the hunting gape. The open jaw of a creature roaring to the open sky. Even apex predators feel the joy of power. This is proof. The ocean at midnight, every creature glowing with its own color. The king, electric cyan, the archelon, amber gold, the plesiosaur, purple, the xiphactinus, silver white. The most unexpected scene in the king's life, another Mosasaurus, not a rival, the body language different, the lateral line at medium display, not maximum threat, the king responding in kind, two apex predators approaching each other with something that looked very much like care. The ocean had seen many things, but rarely this. The female departing, the two adults at the surface at dusk for the last time, two columns of breath mist rising and merging in the evening air before drifting apart on the sea breeze, the king watching the cyan trail of the female's lateral line as she moved away. This is the image, the king arcing above the surface against the most extraordinary sunset sky ever rendered, the sun positioned perfectly behind the body at the peak of the breach. The Western Interior Seaway at absolute nocturnal beauty, the king at the center of its domain, all the creatures of the night ocean moving around it at their natural distances. The full moon, enormous amber gold, rising over the ancient sea, the king moving through the moon path on the water surface, amber moonlight above, electric cyan below, two kinds of light meeting on the body of the king at once, the most beautiful night before the darkness that follows, the last full moon over the Western Interior Seaway. The king moving through its complete world one final time, though it does not know it is the final time, through the Archelon pod, through the Scyphectinus school, past the plesiosaur, through the ammonite field, past the coastal forest. The last normal morning, the sun rising, the pteranodon flying, the Archelon surfacing, the Scyphectinus feeding, the king on its morning patrol, everything completely normal, the sky above completely clear, not a cloud, not a trace of what is coming visible from any point on the surface of the earth. The world with no warning, the most normal day before the most abnormal event in the history of life on this planet. And then the sky above the surface exploding with white gold lights visible through the water ceiling, turning the entire water column from azure teal to blazing amber white in under 2 seconds. The king below, looking up at the end of the world, arriving through 60 feet of ancient ocean water. The sky transformed, something that has never existed in the history of this ocean filling the horizon. The impact winter beginning, the light that has filtered through this ocean for millions of years beginning to dim, not suddenly, gradually but steadily, the bioluminescent plankton beginning to fail, the base of the food chain beginning to collapse, the most powerful predator the ocean has ever known, facing the one threat it cannot overcome, the failure of the world that sustains it. The cyan lateral line dimming one section, then another, the 57-foot constellation of electric light that has lit the Western Interior Seaway for the king's entire adult life, fading section by section, the amber gold eyes still open, still watching, the jaw still perfectly formed, the body still the most powerful body in the ocean, the light leaving it anyway, section by section, the last cyan glow pulsing once, twice, then gone, the darkness of the impact, winter and the darkness of the king's ending becoming one, the ocean loses its king silently. 48 hours before, the king's lateral line detecting something wrong, not a predator, not prey, something in the ocean itself, temperature variations that make no sense, pressure signatures from the deep ocean floor that have never arrived before. The king at 200 feet reading the ocean with maximum sensitivity, the readings making no pattern it has encountered in its lifetime. the ocean speaking a language it has never spoken before, the king uncertain for the first time in its adult life. The last Archelon, the turtle's shell showing the first signs of the acid ocean, the king watching from 30 feet away, not hunting, not threatening, simply watching another ancient creature struggling through the same collapsed world. The king at the surface in the deep impact winter darkness for what will be its final surface breath. The exhale, still the same blue-tinted mist it has exhaled at the surface every day of its adult life, but now rising into grey air. The massive nostrils taking in the breath that will sustain the king for its final dive. The amber gold eyes looking at the grey sky one last time. The sky that was once amber and gold and crimson and deep Cretaceous blue, now just grey. The king taking its breath, diving for the last time. Still powerful physically, every muscle still functional, every scale still perfect, but the caloric reserves depleted, weeks of insufficient hunting in the collapsed food chain. The king descending through the dark water it has ruled for its entire adult life. The water still the same water, the ocean still the same ancient ocean, but the life within it gone. The king descending through the water of its own death with the same quiet dignity it has brought to every moment of its life. The most powerful creature in the ocean, still at its physical peak, dying from an empty ocean. The Western Interior Seaway is gone, where the deep blue ocean once stretched from horizon to horizon, flat ancient plains, the seafloor risen over millions of years to become the Great Plains of North America. Somewhere under this dry land the king sleeps in stone, the ocean that held it gone completely, the world above unrecognizable, the king unchanged in stone, waiting.
The world changes above the sleeping king 300 feet below. Still there, still perfect in stone, waiting.
1764, Maastricht, the Netherlands, a chalkmine worker moving through a pale tunnel with an amber lantern, and then a skull 4 feet long in the chalk wall. He had no word for what he was looking at, no framework, no context, just the amber lantern light on 4 feet of ancient jaw and the certain knowledge that the world had just become considerably larger. 1822, Paris, Georges Cuvier, quill pen in hand, writing the name that would define the creature for all time. Mosasaurus, hoffmannii, the muse lizard, named for the river near where it was found, named for the man who first found it. The king receiving its name 66 million years after its last breath. And now it stands, in the light of the modern world, every bone exactly as it was in life, the double jaw hinges still articulated, the finger bones inside the flippers, the skull that magnificent 7-foot masterpiece of predatory engineering displayed. The king standing again in the world, still magnificent, still terrifying, speaking to the modern world through 66 million years of stone. The greatest predator the ocean has ever produced. Still here, still speaking, if you know how to listen. The moment a child looks up at a jaw wider than she is tall and understands for the first time that something incredible once walked on this earth, and we get to know about it. This is everything.
Check this out, the photogrammetry captures are incredible.
The detail is amazing. Let's cross-reference with the field notes. This suture line here matches the scan. Look.
Great, that confirms the species.
The Western Interior Seaway is gone, where it once ran through the heart of North America, flat dry land now, but 300 feet below every step of the modern world, the ancient seafloor, the chalk that held the king, the chalk that holds the story, the same latitude, the same longitude, a completely different world above, the same ancient darkness below. And then the fossil begins to change, the amber gold stone deepening to midnight blue-black as living skin covers the ancient bone, the empty eye sockets filling with amber gold eyes, the rigid fossil beginning to undulate, the cyan lateral line awakening along the ancient bone, the creature alive again. In the museum, in the amber light, the king returned. Back in the ancient water, the warm azure teal of the Western Interior Seaway, every system blazing, every scale perfect, the lateral line at maximum hunting intensity. The king making its final patrol of the Western Interior Seaway, the same pre-dawn patrol that began every day of its adult life, the same lateral line reading the familiar darkness, the same signatures, the same ocean, the same king, one final time, as it always was, as it will always have been. One last bridge, not the explosive hunt bridge, not the power display. This is the farewell bridge, the full 57-foot body arcing above the surface against the most beautiful dawn sky ever rendered. The cyan lateral line visible as a thin river of electric light against the blazing sky. The water explosion in dawn light, liquid amber gold. The body descending, the ocean receiving its king, one last time. The king descending below the surface for the last time, the dorsal surface visible, then the body becoming a shape, the shape becoming the cyan line becoming two amber eyes. And somewhere below, barely visible at impossible depth, the faintest trace of cyan, 2 points of amber gold, the king still here, still in the deep. The king was just here, the cyan wake trail still glowing on the surface of the golden morning water, fading slowly, section by section, the cyan glow leaving the golden surface, growing dimmer at the edges, then the middle, then just the faintest trace, then even that gone. The surface, golden, undisturbed, beautiful. The king was here. The wake trail, the only memory the surface holds. The Western Interior Seaway at full golden hour. One final time, every element of the ancient world in one frame. The surface blazing amber gold, the ammonite galaxy below, the Archelon pod, this Sifactinus school, everything, and somewhere below, invisible now at the depth it has chosen. 2 points of amber gold in the deep blue, the king in its deepest water, the world above in its most glorious light, the ocean holding both simultaneously. The ocean speaking the only truth that matters. The king was here. The king was real. The ocean remembers. The ocean will always remember. The deep remembers.